My friends, many of you have heard about the movement for a Fifth Marian Dogma, perhaps only partially, or perhaps with questions like, why do we need another dogma? Or even questions such as, if it's already a doctrine, this seems to be superfluous. Where did this come from? So I'm just going to give you a little nutshell on the movement for the last quarter century has made more major news than any other Mariological event. Presently in the Church we have 4 dogmas regarding Our Lady. The Motherhood of God in 431, the Council of Ephesus. The Perpetual Virginity in 647 by Pope Martin I, that Mary is virginal before, during, and after the birth of Jesus. The Immaculate Conception, defined in 1854 by Blessed Pius IX. And the Assumption of Our Lady, defined in 1950 by Pius XII. Now, those are the 4 dogmas, which means the perfection of doctrine. These are all things that have been proclaimed by popes or ecumenical councils confirmed by popes. There's only one more doctrine, one more official church teaching regarding Our Lady, and that's a relationship between herself and you and me. That she's the world's spiritual mother. And she's the world's spiritual mother in 3 dynamic ways. As the Coredemptrix, the mother that suffers for us, the Mediatrix, the mother who nourishes us, and the Advocate, the mother who pleads for us. About 100 years ago, Cardinal Désiré Mercier, the great Belgian prelate, started a petition drive to have a solemn definition about this Fifth Marian doctrine, to have that raised to a dogma by a papal pronouncement. He got over 300 petitions by 300 bishops by 1917, and then shortly after, St. Maximilian Kolbe joined the cause. So for the last 100 years, there have been petitions sent by cardinals, bishops, priests, religious, and laity for this proclamation. We know for a fact that in the last 3 pontificates, since St. John Paul II onward, there have been over 8 million petitions from the laity just in the last 20 years. Over 500 bishops and over 50 cardinals have written to the Pope saying, please crown Our Lady with this dogma. Now, if that weren't enough, you have the confirmation of this call directly from heaven. Now, once again, I say not the foundation, but the confirmation from authentic, church-approved Marian private revelation. Fatima speaks about the Co-Redemptrix in the vision of October 13th, where she appears as Our Lady of Sorrows. The apparitions in Amsterdam, approved on May 31st of 2002, specifically dozens of times ask for the proclamation of this 5th dogma in order to obtain peace for the world. And the Akita apparitions, the apparitions in Japan, approved as authentic in 1984, are the continuation of the Amsterdam apparitions, so says the bishop who approved these, Bishop Ito, that also call for this dogma. So, and in those apparitions, particularly the Amsterdam apparitions, but also present in Akita, there is the prayer of the Lady of all Nations, which he says is specific for this proclamation. So, what does this all come down to? It comes down to heaven's desire that Our Lady would be recognized for her unique role with Jesus. She's co-redemptrix. That doesn't mean equal. It means with. Mother Teresa put it very simply. Mary gave Jesus his body. His body is the instrument of redemption. Short form of that doctrine, which is already a doctrine of the Church, Mary helped Jesus save souls like no one else. She's a co-redemptrix. She's a mediatrix of all graces. She mediates. She distributes all the graces of redemption. She's the advocate for the world. She brings the needs of humanity to the throne of Christ the King, bringing our petitions before Jesus, who alone is the ultimate judge of humanity. So, heaven has said, really confirming what Cardinal Mercier and St. Maximilian Kolbe have done and started in the Church for almost 100 years, that this dogma is a requirement for world peace. We could put it in other ways, but other ways simply don't relay the truth that only with this dogma, only when the Pope proclaims Our Lady as the world's spiritual mother, will she be able to fully exercise, to enact, to empower these roles for us. What does that mean practically? It means huge grace for your family, for your marriage, for your children, for your town, for your nation, for the entire world. When you acknowledge the role of the mediatrix of all graces, then and only then can she fully exercise and act these roles. That means more grace for all, which is exactly what the world needs right now. What can you do? Number one, you can write to Pope Francis. completely within Catholic precedents, my friends. Millions of petitions written to Pius IX for the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. 8 million petitions up to 1950 encouraging Pius XII to do the proclamation. Petitions are part of Catholic heritage. And so I'm encouraging you to send a petition to Pope Francis. Very simple to do. From the United States, you put 3 postage stamps, Pope Francis, Vatican City, 00120. Don't even need the zip code, but most people like it. And inside, you put in a line or 2 lines or a paragraph from your heart to Pope Francis that this is the time for the dogma, that you support him in proclaiming the Fifth Marian Dogma. And again, remember the 2 scenarios. Scenario A, Pope Francis would do this on his own. Scenario B, Pope Francis makes this proclamation in answer to millions and millions and millions of Catholics asking him to do it. You see how position B is so much better. And that's why in the approved apparitions of Amsterdam, Our Lady legitimately and specifically says, you should petition the Holy Father for this dogma. Ask and work for this dogma. The words of Our Lady to you and me. So number 1, write to Pope Francis. For those seeing this in many parts throughout the world via the internet, of course, get your own postal information, but it's an overseas letter to Vatican City. And the address, again, Pope Francis, Vatican City, 00120. Number 2, pray the prayer which Our Lady specifically gave for this definition. On February 11th, 1951, she gave a very short prayer asking Jesus to send the Holy Spirit into the hearts of all nations to prevent degeneration, disaster, and war, calling upon her as the Lady of all nations and as advocate. So, you can get that prayer. You can download it. Just punch in Prayer of the Lady of All Nations. It's on the internet in about 50 languages. If you want us to send free prayer cards, laminated, anywhere in the world, we're happy to do that too. Give us a call from outside of the U.S., 001-740-937-2277. Just give name and address and how many prayer cards you want. We'll send them free of charge. Or you can email us, mary@motherofallpeoples.com, and we'll send the prayer cards to you at your disposition. 2 things you and I can do, really concrete things in assisting heaven in bringing peace to the world. Write to Pope Francis, pray the prayer of the Lady of all nations. Let's do this for the Mother. Our marriages need peace. Our families need it. Our towns, our nations, the world needs peace. Let's use heaven's peace plan, and let's cooperate in these 2 humble ways. Write to Pope Francis, pray daily the prayer of the Lady of all nations. Mark Miravalle saying thanks for being with you. God bless.